Welcome to Economics Happy Hour. My name's Matt,
And my name is Jadrian.
and we are getting close to Halloween time, so we have a fun episode for you today. But Jadrian, what's new in your world?
I'm gonna call it middle of the semester. I did the first thing, or I did something the other day that I have not done in a very long time, and so I'm excited to share it. So we have a lot of teachers out on our who listen to our podcast. A long time ago, I did a mid-course evaluation. I used to do those all the time, and I got comfortable in my teaching. I not that I figured it all out, but
Yeah.
I sort of knew where I was lacking, and I was okay where I was lacking because I was doing a cost benefit analysis. The work it would take to fix it was, in my opinion, not worth it. But I have not felt comfortable with my one of my sections because I'm trying to teach
Okay.
it like a flipped classroom, and I feel like I'm not doing it right. So I signed up for a mid-course evaluation through our Center for Teaching and Learning, and I got the results back today. And I feel very positive. It turns out, maybe this is not surprising to most teachers, the students were not as frustrated as I was. Um, I think I'm pretty hard on myself. They were not as upset as I was. But one of the cool things is they pointed out a lot of really good ideas.
That's good.
Honestly, it's things I already do, and so I just need to do a better job of articulating that I already do those things. So
Okay.
I'm in a good
Yep.
mood because it's on my end. Honestly, I don't have to do a lot more work to fix this class. I just need to take a class to explain to them that I already post all the problems that we do in class online. That was the
Yeah.
number one recommendation. Please post these online so we could review them. And I do. So I need to tell them that,
Yeah, that's good news. That's good news. Yeah,
yes,
I'm a
right. I mean, Abdullah tells us all the time, mid-course
yeah,
evaluations are important. Um,
yeah,
their frustration is they don't know that I'm doing things for them. I just need to do a better
yeah,
job.
yeah. Cool. Yeah, I'm actually in a pretty good mood. I am in the Kansas City airport. So for those who are
Manhattan,
on
the Little
video,
Apple.
actually this is Kansas City. I was
Oh, okay.
in the Little Apple yesterday. Presented to Dan Keister, had me out to present to their econ club. But then today was with the Foundation for Economic Education, had a session in Kansas City with K-12 teachers. And that was a whole lot of fun. So presented
Hmm.
a little bit on Broadway and economics, presented a little bit on our Taylor Swift stuff,
Great.
some of the lessons there, and a little bit on sports econ. And it was just a nice day. So, and now I'm going to Denver to do a different fee session in a couple days. So
Have you seen Taylor Swift? Is she at the airport? Is her jet there?
I have definitely not seen her,
The
at
answer's
least
no,
knowingly.
Matt. She's in New Orleans. She has a show this weekend.
Okay, see, you are a bigger Swifty than I am, apparently. So you are in the know. Um, and so then the important thing, of course, today, what are you drinking?
Well, Matt, you're at an airport. I'm going to pull something up on my side. You're at an
Okay, I could
airport.
share what I'm drinking.
You share what you're drinking first while I pull up what I'm about to show you.
I am at Boulevard Brewing Company in the airport, which is a no, I don't know if it's the biggest brewer microbrew from Kansas City, but it's probably the most popular Kansas City brewery, I would suspect. And I've got the Boulevard Pale Ale.
Oh,
So
going with a pale ale.
going with the
No, I
Pale Ale.
were there no IPAs on tap?
I'm sure they probably had one, but I figured I'll just go with the Pale Ale for now.
All right,
There
Matt.
might be a
So,
second beer in my future.
did they serve it to you in that little straw? Is that
No,
Matt?
this is
For
the
those of you,
water.
oh, okay. For those of you who aren't on the YouTube feed, Matt was talking about his beer and then pulled up a
A
like
white, a white
a,
soda cup.
a white soda cup with a straw. And so
Yeah,
I was really convinced there for a second that you were drinking out of something else. So Matt,
I don't know that.
this is
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever had beer from a straw. And today is not the day I'm going to find out. So.
I've had a beer at a stadium that was in like a plastic cup with sort of like a sippy cup lid on it.
Yeah,
Right, like like the coffee cup
yeah.
lid. But it didn't have a straw. So Matt, the reason I said I know where Taylor Swift is this weekend, if I can zoom in correctly,
Okay, you have a ticket.
that says the 26th on there. It's not focused, but that says
Yeah, yeah, I see it. I
the
see it.
26th.
Yeah,
I'm going to the show.
and you're going. You have
I'm
the ticket,
going.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Thanks, Capital One. Capital One was given away, so I'm going.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, not given. I had to pay for them. You got access, but you got access to like the face value version of it, not the
That's
not the resale version.
That's pretty incredible, though. So
And
have a
I'm
fun
going.
time.
Yes, I
Yeah,
got a ticket and I did not resell it. I'm going.
that's
I am drinking compliments of our good friend Tim Dye, digging in the back of the fridge from Greenwood, Indiana, and Oaken Barrel Brewing Company, raspberry wheat beer.
nice, nice. Well, cheers to Tim, and we'll say cheers to Dan as well, who I already gave the shout out, which is our former friends of the pod who've been guests. But of course, our cheer.
Clink, clink.
That is a
Ooh,
tasty beverage.
that is raspberry forward. It's more sour than I was expecting. That's
Okay.
good. Hey, maybe we should have talked about traveling. Maybe we should talk about we're talking about Halloween, but maybe we should do an airport edition. We need to find a
That,
time where we're crisscrossing and we just happen to meet
yeah,
in
we're
an
both
airport
at an
somewhere.
airport. I think that'd be a good one. I think that one's good a month from now, 2 months from now, 4 months from now.
We've probably got a conference we're going to go to sometime. There's got to be some overlap.
There will be overlap, but yeah. So today we wanted to just talk a little bit economics of Halloween. Few things. I'll let you start off. I know there's a couple things you like to point out. What's when you think about the economics of Halloween? What's one of the first things that jumps out in your
Um, I mean, I feel like the one that jumps out first is like my favorite one, so I'll just go straight to my favorite one. Um, Halloween is an incredibly great example of conspicuous consumption. I think it
mind? Okay.
is. There are. It's definitely not. It's not a textbook example. I'm gonna say it's a great example for conspicuous consumption, unless you have like not for kids. Like if you're, putting your kid in a costume, trick or treating, like that is a family sort of moment. You're
Yeah.
usually not posting about it. But people who sort of go all out for Halloween, where they're getting the 30-foot skeleton and they're super decorating, they're putting their dogs in costumes. The ones who are just sort of spending because they can. I like to use that as an example of conspicuous consumption. So that just means sort of not necessarily spending beyond your means, but spending for no sort of real productive value other than just like letting all your friends know on social media, I have the money to spend on Halloween. And I think one of the reasons I really like it, we could talk about the data behind it too. This year's a little different, but over the past couple of years, spending on Halloween has gotten just has grown by a ton. Last year, estimates were that people spent about $12 billion on Halloween, which is like a per person, because a lot of people do celebrate per person, like $108 a person. And what's interesting about that is that's whenever we were really hearing people talk about like how hard it was with inflation and budgets and spending, and yet they spent more money on Halloween than they've ever spent. I don't know if that's inflation adjusted, that's true. It probably still is. But you would normally expect to see that kind of spending cut way back if you really are sort of struggling a lot.
Yeah. So first of all, I just want to try to clarify to understand. So if I hear 12 billion and there's basically a third of a billion people in the U.S., that comes out to I've got that at closer to like $36 for every
Mm,
man, woman, and child. It
yeah,
could be
I don't
112 per family, though. I mean, if we're thinking about
no. So
family
this was
units.
just like well, of the people who are doing it is
Okay.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
if you're celebrating, yeah, because not everybody's right. So I think
Yeah.
their data says about 72% of people celebrate.
Yeah. I don't know the way you phrased it, and sounds almost kind of harsh, like the showing off. I mean, if it's giving
Not
somebody
everybody.
joy, and they're
Yes,
putting up the thing in their lawn, and
sure.
they figure people, if you're spending a couple $100, but you decorate the lawn and you're spending time there, and then you also think, hey, I bet others are going to get some joy driving by here. I'm
No, but
I,
that's the argument of somebody driving a Rolls Royce and saying like I get
people are,
happiness out of driving this,
and
and
yeah,
it's serving a purpose. I have a car.
and other people
I
will
got a
like my car.
Rolex. Yeah,
Yeah,
right. Like it
no,
tells me the
it's outstanding.
time.
Yeah,
So no, to
that's
be fair, right? Conspicuous consumption. Not everybody, right? So people who
yeah,
are spending money on their kids, I think that's different because usually you're not showing off what they're doing from a showing off the money that you have.
yeah,
But I think
yeah.
there are a lot of people out there who are purely just look at how much I can spend on decorations.
There are those. Yep, yep.
Those
There are
people.
those people. There are those people. So the biggest, like when I think of the economics of it, I think of actually the demand and supply part comes to mind, and a little bit of a puzzle that you could just give to an introductory class. We know the demand for candy, and especially miniature candy, is through the roof on
Yeah.
Halloween, and yet the price doesn't go up. So what's going on there, right? And does that violate our basic laws of demand and supply? And we would know pretty instantly. Well, no, companies are able to plan for this. They're planning for this all year round. And so, Hershey and Mars and Cadbury and all of the various companies are, just going to churn out extra supply. But I think that's kind of a fun example. The demand is so much higher, but the price isn't going up. Why? Because these companies are anticipating this and just increasing the supply significantly ahead of time. I kind of think of that as a fun example. And then the other example that's actually way more fun for those who enjoy candy is what happens on the day or two
The day
after Halloween, when the prices drop dramatically. And that's a tough one to exploit. Like once Halloween night passes, Halloween night's just over. So yeah, the person who wants to buy and eat candy, that's fine. But
That's me. That's when I buy my candy.
yeah, the
I don't care what the shape is. I don't care if it's a pumpkin. That Reese's is still good.
That Reese's is delicious. The what I would like to exploit. I was able to exploit the Easter markdowns a little bit, because our local grocery store actually started marking the candy down on Easter Sunday. And so
that makes sense, because you get the Easter basket in the morning.
What we did with our kids is church was early. So church was at 8 a.m. And so Easter Bunny will come after. So we went to church, and then my wife led Sunday school, and the kids would stay for that. And then I would usually, the Easter Bunny would usually set up some sort of a quest where kids would have to decipher clues to find the baskets. But nice. I would go to the local Wise markets and get discounted candy, and I'd always hedge a little bit. We buy a little ahead of time to make sure we have the most important. But then, like, oh, look at the jelly beans are half off, and just buy piles of them.
I love that. No, but even I think that's sort of interesting, even on the timing part, I think, right? Because like most people, you get the Easter basket in the morning. And so by the afternoon, you would put it on sale versus Halloween happens at night. So you don't get it on sale till the next day.
Correct.
That is sort of interesting. I never thought about that. So there's an interesting news story going around that I think goes back to your supply and demand story. That's really interesting. Have you gone Halloween candy shopping or no?
I don't. I think I bought one bag with each of the kids 3 weeks ago when we were on the college visits, but otherwise, no, I haven't.
Yeah. So I saw this, I think is a Morning Brew article. There is way more like gummies, sour candies, like that is becoming much, much bigger. And so they talked a little bit about how some of that is consumer preferences, that people do like those items. But the other side of it is that cocoa prices have gotten really wild over the past couple of years, and they are significantly more expensive than it has been sort of in the most recent past. So that essentially chocolate is just so expensive, and it goes back to your sort of supply and demand story, but on an elasticity side. So when the cocoa prices are more expensive, normally we'd have to raise prices, but the problem is Halloween candy buyers are super price sensitive because they're just giving it away. If you're trick-or-treating, right, you're just giving away candy to people, and so you're not going to pay a really expensive price.
No,
and so one of the really fun things is I think it was a Butterfinger is now going to have they're selling Butterfingers with caramel toppings on top. Or some of they're trying to push like white chocolate instead of regular chocolate. So they're doing these sort of substitutions inside of it because they can't afford to buy as much cocoa, or else the price would just be way too high. And so I saw that come through, and it was so fascinating because it reminds me a lot. And this could be a weird jump for you, Matt. And for our listeners, they have no idea where this is coming. It's the weirdest jump ever. I read about this in a book that I used in my economics of crime course. And it's the same sort of concept of this sort of monopsonistic power, because the cocoa prices are way more expensive, but the cocoa farmers are not getting higher price. Like they're not receiving extra money from it. They're not necessarily better off. And so the problem is that there's only a few people who are buying cocoa in large scale, sort of nationally. So those companies have a lot of market power that even though it's more expensive, it's not necessarily like trickling down in that sense. Like it's not trickling down like down the
Yeah.
supply chain. And it's a very similar to the drug trade in Mexico. So whenever like cocaine prices or when cocaine prices or marijuana prices are significantly higher, it's not necessarily that the farmers themselves are doing better. It's those middlemen in
Yeah.
between
Okay.
who are those are the ones that are really benefiting just because there's not a lot of places to sell it. So in the drug example, you have to sell it to a cartel. But it's like a perfect sort of story of like you don't see these cocoa farmers. I should say cacao,
Yeah.
right? I think
Yeah.
is the bean. Cacao farmers making like they're not doing significantly better. It's those middlemen in between who are sort of making all the extra money.
Yeah. This is your next Monday morning economist should be how Halloween is now like the drug trade, right? That's
You know,
awesome.
I haven't written Monday's post, so maybe those of you listening in, if you
Yeah.
go to my website, you'll see what I wrote about. Maybe
Yeah.
it's a good. I've
Yeah.
wanted to write about it for a while, and I just, I try really careful because I have a lot of high school students and high school teachers who use it, and so right there's that sort of there's that fine line that I don't want to cross, but maybe I'll see if I can come up with a PG way of talking about that
Yeah.
without
Yeah.
offending anybody.
Your ears should have been ringing today because I gave a couple shout outs. I mean, one, I talked about the Taylor Swift stuff. So I gave a
Hmm.
shout out to you and to our collaborators, Sarah and Signe. And then also I gave a shout out just to Monday Morning Economist. And so
Thank
did
you.
James Rettelsheimer, who's there,
Oh,
telling
great.
all the teachers and then also their stuff. But that'll be interesting. So those who are listening, I think we may try to drop this Tuesday instead of Thursday to kind of get it out there just a bit before Halloween, so you could listen to it on Tuesday or the Wednesday before Halloween or Halloween Thursday. But
Start planning which grocery store you're going to get your discount candy from.
yeah, exactly. Um, so I, I don't know if you have other things. The other part of Halloween that I do find fascinating, and even in the central Pennsylvania area, just
Mhm.
up the road from Selinsgrove, very rural population, there will be stores that go into a strip mall, a vacant spot for a month or 2 months, and they're
Yeah.
Halloween stores. And
Yeah.
I just find that fascinating that there is enough demand and enough of a market for people to make a good living coming into a store, decorating the store up and only operating it for a month or two.
So
And
Matt, that is one of my favorite examples of the shutdown rule.
yeah,
Absolutely favorite, right? Because like they have to set up, right? So that's not that they just like turn around and so there's the
right.
demand aspect that's amazing, right? So if you think about just like demand as the price of what they're willing to pay, but they have to, right? They have to set up a couple weeks in advance, and they could while they're setting up open the store, try to sell some stuff in September, but they usually don't because the demand's not there, so they can't. So instead, they just close the door, spend the money on whatever their fixed costs are.
Yeah.
But did you know that company is going to start a? They've been so successful. Spirit Halloween has been so successful. They're going to start a Spirit Christmas.
Okay.
They
That, I mean,
some of
makes a
their
ton of
stores are going
sense.
to be
Yeah.
Christmas based, which right exactly so much sense, right? You operate Halloween all the way up until October. Take a
Yeah.
week or two into November to sort of tear down, replace it, switch it to
Yeah. Yeah.
Christmas. I think
Makes
it's great.
perfect sense. Perfect sense.
Matt, I
The
have a trivia question for you.
Okay.
Let me give you an in
I love
between
trivia.
since you're talking about purchases. So all this data comes from the National Retail Federation. So I'm going to ask you some
Okay.
questions off of here to see what you know. Can you guess what the top spending category is? So like, what do the most number? I shouldn't say it that way. In terms of people spending money on Halloween, what do they spend the most amount of money on? This is collective, but I guess technically
Yeah.
it's per
Yeah.
person in the same
So I
sense.
guess options might be, say, candy or costumes or yard decorations. Is that like the category or something? Or am
You
I in
have
the rough?
named the top three categories. There is a
Okay.
fourth category on their list.
Okay.
You're not going to
Uh,
guess the fourth category. So, yes, those
um,
are the three categories.
those are the
Which
top
one
three.
of
And
those?
I would have to maybe go with costumes. I don't know for sure, but I think so many people dress up, and the costumes I think just cost more than the candy. But I really don't.
Interesting. You think costumes cost more than candy?
Yeah,
Candy's a lot, right? There's
candy is a lot. Yeah,
people who hand out candy, but they don't dress up.
Yeah. I don't know. I might be wrong on it, but that was my
No,
instinct. So, um,
you're not wrong at all. In fact, you are. I gotta try to zoom in. They are almost tied. The
okay,
answer is costumes. So
but it's
I'll give you the
close.
per. It's so close. So this is the per person spending. Actually, I can give you the whole amount. So if it rounds to the same amount. It rounds to
Okay, yeah.
3.8 billion dollars.
Wow.
So per person, costumes. This is adult costumes, kids costumes, and
Yep.
pet costumes. So it merges them all together.
Yeah, and the pets
33.
don't eat the candy. That's where this wins. So,
So $33.92 per person is the
okay,
average per person. The candy is $33.57 per person. So they are sort of really close to each other.
that is pretty close.
Um, sorry, decoration. Sorry, actually, it was decorations. I was wrong. It's decorations for number two.
Decorations is
Candy's
too.
candy is number three. Can you guess what the fourth category is, though?
So you
So
said I would never guess. So I'm going to
it's
start to try to think.
hard.
So
So
I guess
decorations they lump together. It's all decorations.
all the decorations.
Yeah,
How about
it is a
haunted?
weird one.
How about haunted houses?
No.
Okay. I don't know what else there is, right? I
I'm
mean,
willing to let you give up. Normally, I would push you real hard, but this is one I don't think you're going to get. The fourth
okay.
spending category is greeting cards.
Oh,
Yeah, right?
yeah.
Like,
I mean, no. If you had said if this was Valentine's Day, I might have come up with greeting cards in the
yeah.
top five, maybe, because I
So
would have thought through. Oh, I
yeah.
buy my wife a greeting card
But
every year.
this is, I think, this is what's going to surprise. So I have an idea of what's going on.
Yeah.
I think I can rationalize it. $500 million. Candy is 3.5 billion. So like it's not that far away. Here's my
Yeah.
logic. I think it's kids. I actually think greeting cards probably includes like the little trick or treat cards that you give like that really
Yeah.
small kids probably get.
Yeah.
I bet there's probably something like that. That's my guess.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That
I'll
makes
come
sense.
back with more trivia at the end.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Well, I don't know that this is gonna. We always said we strive to keep things to a half an hour.
Yeah.
We never succeed at that.
Oh.
But I am supposed to board literally in 15 minutes. So
Okay.
I don't know if we want to go to more trivia now, or if you have another. Is there
Well,
anything else that is
yeah.
exciting on the economics of
Yes.
Halloween that we want to
Absolutely.
share?
I'll give you exciting. Yes, I'll give you one more exciting economic application, and I'll give you your last trivia question. Then I'll let you go get on a
Okay.
plane. Halloween, not maybe not for adults, but for kids, is a really great opportunity to talk about gains from trade. And so if you have kids,
Yeah.
it is almost the perfect. If you have kids with an S, is really important in there. And so you immediately get to see the benefits of when kids are going out and they get candy that they don't want, but that some other kid has something that they do want, and that they
Yep.
will sit down, dump the buckets out, go through the negotiation. And those little kids are cutthroat, right? It's not one
Yeah.
gummy
Yeah.
for a chocolate. It's give me three of those for one of these Reese's cups. So the terms of trade are even really interesting. Love Halloween for that example.
Yeah. I will. In my household, and I'm an economist, so I'm weird,
You
right?
take
And
you take a
what we
candy
did.
tax.
No, we didn't take a candy tax, but we made it very clear on the kids. We were not combining their candy together
Okay.
into one big thing that they would eat. And I would say we are not candy communists here. We're not candy socialists. You each earned, quote unquote, earned this candy by walking around, and you each are entitled to the fruits of your labor. We are not candy socialists in this family.
So
So
you're a
we would use that.
you're a candy Marxist, is what you're saying.
We were not candy Marxists. They were, they each kid had it, so they heard that term. Our kids grew up thinking it was normal to think, no, we don't believe in candy socialism here. Like this is, they grew up with that.
Mhm.
Probably in the 0.0001% of America that had that. But that was the other part. If you have multiple kids,
Yeah.
because if you combine it all together, well, then you've got distorted incentives for the kids to maybe eat more quicker, because if they don't, their siblings will eat it quicker. And
Oh,
and
that's a good
then you
example
ate
too.
the Snickers and stuff. So I don't know
I
how many
like it.
families really do combine all the
Yeah.
bounty of candy together. But I would highly encourage you not to, and use it as a chance to teach economics. So.
Don't be a candy communist. I like it. All right, so Matt, here's my trivia question for you.
Okay.
Right before you board, nothing's better for you than trivia and a little beer. So I'm trying to prep you for when you get home. Top costumes for adults. I'm not asking you the number one costume. Instead, I want to know which commercial entity. I'll make it really broad. A witch is the number one adult costume. What I want to know is sort of what commercial person representation. I'm trying not to make it too obvious. What movie character?
It's got to be Glinda. Glinda or Alphabet, not from Wicked, right?
Nope.
No.
Nope.
Wicked
nope.
Witch, not okay.
There are 3 of them in the top 10.
3 from Wicked in the top 10?
No. Three adult costumes that are from movie-related entities.
3 from movie-related entities.
2 of them are historically popular. 1 of them is popular this year because of a movie. That, I think, is a big hint.
Barbie?
No, but Barbie was popular last year. That was a good one. That's a good guess.
Oh, boy.
2 historically popular ones.
2 historically popular adult costumes.
I will say one of them is the number one. Oh, they are also on the children's costume list. The 2 historically popular ones are also on the children's costume as well.
This tells you how little I've looked at costumes.
In fact, the number 1 kid's costume is this character. Number 2 is a ghost. Number 3 is a princess. Number 1 is.
So this is a non-fictional historical character.
It's fictional. It's fictional. It's a movie character. That's why I can't come up with a good way to ask the question.
Can you say is it a recent movie?
One of the 3 is. Okay. The other 2 have multiple. Here, I'll make it easier. The other 2 have multiple franchises.
Okay.
So they are old, but also new in any given year, depending on what.
Yeah. It's one. I mean, I'm wondering, thinking through is Baby Yoda, or something from Star Wars.
No, but you're in
the Marvel universe.
Yes, you're getting warmer.
I don't know who from the Marvel universe. Spider-Man?
Yes, there you go. Number 1. That's the number 1 kids one. And it is the number 8 adult. There's a more popular superhero for adults. And then there's the new addition to the list, thanks to a movie this year. That is a movie from the 90s. There was a popular movie that came out this year that also came out with the 90s.
Oh, what was the movie?
And you shouldn't say it 3 times. I feel like I'm saying it. There you go. Yeah. Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice this year cracked the top 10.
I didn't get that right. You gave away too much for me to count that as getting it right.
Batman was the other one.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense.
Batman, Spider-Man, and Beetlejuice make the top 10 for adult costumes. For kids, Spider-Man, Spider-Man, Batman, Disney Princess, and Superman.
I would think children. Each year, each presidential election year, the 2 candidates have to be reasonably popular, but I don't know if they're on the top 10 list here. I mean, Trump and Kamala, I would think there would be plenty of people with masks on with them, I would imagine, but I don't know.
Yeah, but I always think about it as sort of the easiness of it. A witch is super easy, right? You can wear that. There's probably plenty of people who wear the same costume every single year.
Yeah. No, all
right.
That makes sense. So,
let's call that our pop culture. Well, let's call that our pop culture.
We can call that our pop culture.
Right. I'll put that in the show notes. Pop culture, even during Halloween.
I like it.
This is a really good example of demand and supply, right? Beetlejuice probably, we don't have data going back to the 90s, probably was a really popular costume back in the 90s, completely fell off. Now, super high demand for Beetlejuice, thanks to...
I don't know. I mean, so that came out...
in the 90s.
It would have been very early 90s then.
It's a 90s movie because I watched it I'm not going to say by mistake. I watched it and then regretted watching it. I didn't realize how bad it was. I saw some... Oh, it was 88, actually. I was wrong.
Okay.
1988.
So I don't remember a ton of Beetlejuice costumes because that was towards the end of my trick-or-treat age. But people would still wear costumes. I mean, there were some. I think there's probably a lot more now because of the nostalgia for the film. They get the check.
Especially on the adults part. I mean, it's adults wearing it, right? So that's the other part.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
looked
yeah.
this up because this drove me insane. Beetlejuice the movie is an hour and 44 minutes. Michael Keaton is only on the screen for 17 and a half minutes. Like Beetlejuice is barely in the
That's
movie
crazy.
Beetlejuice.
That is crazy. I've seen that once, and it's a long time ago. I think I said this in a previous episode. If the musical comes by,
Mhm.
go check it out. The musical's fantastic. Great
Yeah.
songs. It's actually kind of almost heartwarming. It's the same story, kind of,
Mhm.
but that's good. I haven't brought myself. Did you went and saw the new one, right? The new Beetlejuice? Or no?
No, I watched
Okay.
the old one so I could see the new one. I never went and actually saw
You're too busy going to New Orleans to see Taylor Swift. I mean, this is, so that'll be pretty awesome. The have to. There's got to be a whole bunch of interesting economic observations you'll have just from being there. I would think. So
I
this
could
this
tell. I could tell you I'm not flying into New Orleans because the tickets are way too expensive. I'm flying into
okay.
Gulfport, Mississippi, and getting a
Okay.
rental car, so it's like an hour and a half away.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm. It's not that bad, right? Not that bad.
No. No.
Flying in Saturday morning at 6 a.m. for the Saturday night show because the one hotel room is also very pricey. So
Even in Gulfport, it's pretty pricey.
I'm staying in New Orleans. I'm staying down the street from
Okay.
the stadium.
Thank you. Thank you.
I got a room.
You're staying, yeah, one night.
Well, because but I'm
That's
only
just
staying one night. That's why I'm okay with it. If
yeah,
I
yeah,
that's why I'm
yeah.
not flying in Friday night.
No, very cool,
Too
very cool.
expensive.
But well, thank you everybody for for listening to the end. Appreciate. We've gotten a few comments recently. I know from people who responded to stuff that we've said in like 3 minutes from the end, and I was like, well, thanks for first the comment, and two for the comment about the at the end of the show. I mean, that's pretty cool. But if you're this far, if you can give us a good review on the whatever podcast app you're on, that's very helpful for us. And like, subscribe, all the stuff. And somebody did ask today at the fee, by the way, about getting paid for this and sponsors. So it's like our only sponsorship so far, I think, has been for beer. But
Yeah.
if any potential sponsors are out there,
Hey, you
we
know
are
what?
willing to talk.
We know a guy who knows someone who owns a brewery. We're getting closer. I'm waiting for maybe the Two Brothers Brewery can step up and sponsor us. I still think Untapped would be our best sponsor. If anybody
Hey,
knows somebody on Untapped, please let them know.
yeah, yeah, we'll be more glowing than we already are.
And we're very cheap. Like
And
we
yeah,
don't
yeah.
even need that much money.
We don't need much. We don't need much. But no, thank you to everybody who does listen. It makes it fun for us to do, and it's great to chit chat a bit. Have a wonderful weekend. Look forward to catching up, hearing about it in the next one. And well, everybody, till later. Everybody, cheers.
Cheers.